Hi everyone and welcome back to SGTV. We are here with Sam Claimant from eVolt Electrical Services Limited. I've got it right again.
Yeah.
I'm getting good at this.
You really are.
What's your Instagram handle, by the way? Can you remember that one?
eVolt _electrical _limited. So getting better as well. We're doing well.
But as I said before in other episodes with Sam, we've spoke about many things. We talked about setting up your own business sort of the first year, growing your business, collaborating with other trades, other electricians in your area. And I just wanted to quickly touch on something we sort of spoke about in another episode, which was sort of the renewable side. So there's obviously a lot going on in terms of EV chargers, solar, renewables, wind, everything. And I wanted to know your thoughts on sort of where it's at, what might be stopping people from getting into it at this point.
I think obviously everyone's sort of in the unknown when it comes to it at the minute. I think a real big influx I'm seeing now is obviously with the EV chargers. Obviously, it's becoming real that petrol and fossil fuel cars are going to be sort of a thing of the past. So EV chargers are coming in thick and fast. We're doing a lot of installs at the minute with that. I'm also seeing quite a lot of interest in solar panels and home batteries, because obviously storing it and generating your own power, storing it for use, charging your car and things like that. So there's going to be a huge demand in there.
Yeah, and to me that makes the most sense because going back a few years when there were certain schemes with like the government and energy companies where people weren't typically having batteries, were they? It was solar going into their grid.
That's right.
Whatever they're not using, they would sell back. And at the time, they were getting good rates. I think that's changed where they're not getting as good rates now.
Yeah.
But if you're only getting what's being used in the day and you're not home in the day, you come home at night to use your oven and your washing, and you're getting no real advantage of that. So being able to store your own power sort of makes sense to me. And
absolutely. I mean, like with the solar panels, like you say, when they first come about, you're generating it back into the system. But they did a CT clamp, I think, so you could connect it to your boiler or your immersion. So you could use the excess energy to heat up your water tank and stuff like that. So there was some sort of element of gaining a little from it before generating the power back into the grid. But definitely going forward, home batteries away. It's a big outlay, but at the end of the day, you're storing your own power for use. And I think it's going to be quite common. Obviously, with the energy crisis that we're having at the minute and cost of living and things like that, it's actually a really good investment, I believe. If you're in a stage like we were talking about earlier with my house, if you're ripping it out and starting again, should be really thinking about putting this in, or at least implications to make it easy to put it in. So if you maybe haven't got the budget to put it in yet, then maybe put cables in or draw wires or some sort of containment to get you from A to B without ripping your house apart. So it's definitely a thing to think about. A lot of my customers at the minute are getting us to put a 6mm supply in and a communication cable for car chargers for future-proofing it. Because again, you're renovating a room which is nearest to your driveway, which is where you're going to park your car, and they don't want to rip the house apart to put it in at a later stage. So it's going to become the norm to do this sort of thing, be it if you're going to put it in now or at least prepare for it. But it's definitely something that should be spoken about when you're pricing a job.
Do you think the issue at the minute is not necessarily the tech, because there's some great stuff out there from many different manufacturers, but maybe the sort of the rules, the regs, all this kind of thing, and the grants especially, it's changing, it's up in the air. People might think, I don't want anything to do with that until it's settled down. Do you think that's the case?
Everyone's saying the same thing at the minute. Be it with the car is a great point. With the car, everyone's petrified to get just a full electric car at the minute because it's not really where it needs to be. And we all know the infrastructure is not really set up for it at the minute. A lot of houses have got loop supplies and you can't put an EV charger on a loop supply, which comes at a cost to rectifying. You're going to upset your neighbour. You're putting an implication and a cost that shouldn't have been part of what you want to get. And also these people are not really ready to commit to a fully electric car because, let's be honest, the mileage isn't there. The infrastructure around the country is not really there at the minute, I don't think. But it will be, and I think they're improving it. I think I saw recently a company do a full electric petrol station, effectively a charging station. So I think it will be a thing that will come sooner rather than later. But I think a lot of people are questioning things and sort of, I think people are a bit worried that they're going to get caught out or not ready to make the jump yet. So I think it's just something you really should be thinking about.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Do you think it would be a difficult sell for an electrician to say, okay, look, at some point we're going to be going down this route of solar, EV, everything like that. I know it might be probably too expensive for you as a customer right now to commit to all that, but I could offer a service where I'm laying the cables, I'm laying the foundation.
Yeah.
We'll do that, we'll think about the rest in another few years, or are they going to just think, you know what, if I can't see it, I can't use it now, it's of no use to me?
We offer it all the time at the minute because it's one of those things that is a hot topic, and I think everyone's petrified. Everyone doesn't want to spend money in the energy crisis. Everyone's really scared about it. And it's quite nice to sort of tell the customer, you know, you don't have to necessarily have it installed, you do like yet, or, you know, your budget might not attain that or whatnot, but at least if we can put the provisions in for you, whilst we're doing all of this other work, it's a small cost now, but the implications later will be big, and then you haven't got to wreck your house is the most important part. So we will always offer our customers at the start, you know, thinking forward, you know, going green, your car, are you thinking about getting an EV charger for your car soon, or are you thinking about going green, maybe have solar thermal, solar panels, solar PV? So it's something to talk about. And as I say, we do offer that service of putting in the implications for it to be installed.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the same for your consumer unit, isn't it? Because, like you said, if you want EV charging in your home, first of all, if your consumer unit isn't up to scratch, you might need a new consumer unit.
Right.
If the whole house wiring isn't good enough for a new consumer unit, you might need new wiring.
Yeah.
If the feed going into your house isn't good, it has this big knock-on effect.
It's massive, yeah, it's massive. But I mean, you're right. I mean, it's not straightforward. It's really not. You need to make sure that you check with your local energy provider that you can actually attain that mass that you're going to be drawing on the car. You know, the whole street pulling a 7 kilowatt charger at the same times at night is going to be huge for the local transformer. So you need to make sure that everything's all obtained and done properly. But like you say, it's not as easy as just we'll put a cable in and put a charger on the wall, which some people think it is.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of costs to it, and there's a lot of thought process and a lot of sort of admin to do, but it's definitely worth doing.
Do you think it is possible? I mean, you could be talking decades, 30 years into the future at this point, where maybe every house, every property is off-grid, so to speak, where they're generating their own electricity and not relying on companies that are, making a lot of money out of people at the minute.
I mean, that would be the dream, wouldn't it? It would be the dream. I think
it would definitely be greener and more affordable. But
it would be.
It's not always as simple as that.
It would be. I mean, self-generation's the best thing, isn't it? Really. I mean, all these big sort of energy companies would hate that this conversation's come up, but I think self-generating is the cleanest, greenest way to do it, and you're going to save yourself a fortune. It's something that needs to be spoken about. It's something that is being spoken about. Things are being done for it. Grants are being issued for it. And I think it's up to people to sort of take advantage of it whilst it's now. Like solar PV when it first came out. I remember when I was working for my old company at the time, and he had a range of solar installations. And at the time, they did such a great deal. It was a grant for 25 years at a really good rate. And everyone was going mad for solar. And then they realised that because everyone was going mad for it at that rate, they sort of dropped it down. And they've dropped it down again. And I just see it happening with this grant. It will just grab it. If you're thinking about it, if you've got the budget for it, or you're thinking that you can afford it, I'd go for it now, because I don't know how long that grant will be around for. And if you don't know, obviously, find out and, look into it.
And I mean, if the regs and safety aspects and all that kind of thing are putting you off, I mean, you only need to look at the regs now. They change. It's always for the better, usually. It's there for safety. It's there to make homeowners safe. It's there to make the people installing it safe. So whatever sort of, hiccups they're going through to get them there, it's going to be in the long run for everyone's benefit.
Definitely.
And it's worth sticking with and pursuing, I think. I mean, are you seeing more of an uptake in that kind of work?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I said with the EV chargers earlier, it's just mad. It's crazy. I mean, I went from having a car charger install once every 3 months to 10 in a month. That's how much it's gone.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is getting that busy now. And, you know, a lot of people do offer the services, a lot of people do it, but it's crept up a lot this year, noticeably a lot. And we're getting phone calls, again, when we were talking about the networking with the company in London, and they're just getting hundreds of leads constantly, daily, with all this going on. So, you know, I'm not too in the solar game yet. I was when I worked for my old boss, but I think it's something that I definitely will be going into again for obvious reasons. But I can imagine the demand is huge at the minute. Well, funny enough, actually, weirdly enough, I had a text today from a client asking if I did solar. So I've subbed it out to a friend of mine who I know does solar, but I'm passing work away at the minute.
Yeah, something that you can definitely get into in the future.
100%, yeah, definitely.
And that would be the same for a lot of people out there. You might find if you're happy doing whatever it is you're doing, nothing wrong with that, but there is a massive opportunity, I think, going forward with all of that kind of thing.
Yeah, you've got to take advantage of it and just go for it. If you've got to be willing to do it, but I think you have to do it, because I think the way we are going, I think a majority of the electrical work is going to be, you know, the standard stuff, obviously, with people renovating and whatnot. But I genuinely think a good 30% of our work will be renewable or EV charger installs and stuff like that. So I think it is definitely something to get yourself into and train for, 100%.
Sam, that brings us to the conclusion of today's episode. As I said before, we've got quite a few episodes on the channel now featuring Sam. We're going to have another one with Sam and one of our other presenters who works for us here at Skolmore, a familiar face in Neil McManus. So again, that's one to look out for. Please, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification button below to find more videos from us here at SGTV, and we will see you next time.